Hey friends, you are crafting with Kim Byers, and today we are going to make 4 very fun last minute Halloween projects with our Cricut, with some iron-on and infusible ink, and we are going to make treat bags. We're going to make a trick-or-treat tote bag. We're going to make a t-shirt and a throw pillow. And we're going to do all this in a very short period of time. We're going to do a little batch crafting, so this will be fun. And if you've already moved on from Halloween and you're already thinking about Christmas or Thanksgiving, these are still great ideas. Learn how to create these pieces, and then you can apply all of your beautiful Christmas designs to these. Okay, so let's hop over to Cricut Design Space. I'm going to show you what we're doing, and then we'll hop back over to the craft table and put it all together. And by the way, I love to hear from you guys, and I love questions. So hop down in the comments and talk to me. And I also put a list of all the things that we're using today down in the description if you want to check those out too. Okay, so let's go get crafty. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and this is a look at the 4 different projects that we're going to make. So I'm going to be doing a trick-or-treat bag, a jack-o'-lantern face t-shirt. These are going to be sweet little fabric gift bags. And then this last one is going to be on a cute little pillow sham that I'm going to use in my studio. Okay, so all of these designs are either purchased or gotten out of Cricut Design Space. So this one is from Cricut Design Space, and so is the jack-o'-lantern face. I'll put both codes down below in the description in case you want to grab those. I designed the trick-or-treat. It's part of one of my fall collections that is in Cricut Access. And then this was actually a full pumpkin. And so if you look over into layers, you can see that I turned off most of the cuts, and I just kept the little face. It's going to be really sweet. And then these I purchased from Design Bundles. And then I purchased this one from Design Bundles as well. I think they were like $2 a piece. And so then I uploaded those. And if you've never uploaded a design, I'll put a little video up above. It's super simple. And you can, just follow along with that and learn how to upload designs. And then if you want to search for other things to do these projects, if you go into images here, then you can find all kinds of things just searching for Halloween or jack-o'-lanterns or whatever it is that you're into. So we are going to use 2 different things. We are going to use iron-on, and we're going to use infusible ink. So I'm going to use infusible ink for the trick-or-treat and for the jack-o'-lantern face, and I'm going to also use infusible ink for the boo-y'all. But then I'm going to use regular iron-on for these little gift bags. Now you could use either or for any of these. I'm just choosing to do those because those are the colors that I have available in the studio. Okay, so then also for machines, you can use your Maker, you can use your Explorer, you can use your Joy, you can use your Maker 3, your Explorer 3. All of those machines are going to work for these projects. Of course, with the Joy, you may have to break a design into pieces, to be able to cut it on the machine, just because this one, for instance, is almost 11.5 inches wide, and so is this one. And then this guy is like 8 inches. But again, you could break it into pieces using the contour tool. And if you've never used the contour tool, I'll put a little video up above showing you how to do that. So now that we're ready with our designs and everything is sized the way that it should be. By the way, quick thing on sizing. So if you click on your design and you go up here, you can change the size here, or you can drag it at the corners to change it here. And then for adding in names and things, so this is a little design, adding in names, if you click on the spider web and you look over into layers, you can see that these are individual pieces. So if you're wanting to use a larger font, you could always click on this and just move or shift one piece of that spider web so that you could, do a double name, or you could do a wider name, or whatever the case is. Okay, so now that we have those together and everything is sized, let's look up at machines. I am going to be using my Cricut Maker, and we are ready to make it. Okay, so now let's look at our mats. Now I have everything attached or grouped on my canvas, which means it comes over to my mat all together. So the only thing I have to do at this point is just hit mirror image, and so it flips it around for me. And then my next mat, everything is in place, mirror image, next one, mirror image, next. Okay, so for this one, when I look at these last two mats, I see that there is an opportunity to save some material. If you guys ever craft with me, you know I love to save material. So if you want to, you could move some of these elements over to this mat. Now I do want to keep them attached at least at one corner so that I don't have to hand place them. And you know, I know my placement will be perfect, but if we go ahead and mirror image, and definitely mirror image first when you do this, because when you mirror image second, the things that you moved could sometimes shift and then be over top of your design. So just take it from me, mirror image the design first. Okay, so now let's go over to this mat. The first thing you want to do is mirror image that design before you move it. And the reason is because once you've shifted it over to the other mat, that mat is already mirror imaged. And if you do that again or undo it, you could very well have some mirrored and some not. Okay, so let's go ahead and mirror image these designs. And then if you click on these three little elements here, these three little dots, and it says move object. So now it shows you all of your mats. We want to click on the other orange mat. And so when it pulls it in, then we just want to shift that down. And again, saving as much material as you can. Hop back over, three dots, move. Okay, so now this time we're only going to cut 4 mats and we're going to save a lot of material. At least I think we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit continue. Okay, and so now we're going to need to pick material for each one of these mats. Now remember, we're going to be using infusible ink for both blacks and the orange, and then we're going to be using a regular iron-on for the white. So there's an everyday iron-on, I even have a glitter iron-on, I have some foil, but I think for today, what we're going to do is we're going to do the glitter iron-on. And so we have our fine point blade, everything's attached. Okay, so you see up here, base material, glitter iron-on. It's telling us to mirror image, which we did. But one thing I want you to note is if you do not come back and change these to infusible ink before you cut them, it's going to think that you're cutting glitter. Okay, so just make sure that once you've cut your glitter, you come back and you change these materials to infusible ink. And the way that you do that is you just click on where it says glitter iron-on. You'll click on that, it'll bring the drop down back, and you can go over and click your infusible ink transfer sheets. Okay, so let's head over to the craft table. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and these are all the things that we're going to be using today. So we have 4 projects, and we are going to be making a t-shirt, a pillowcase, a tote bag, and these fun little goodie bags. And then I have infusible ink and iron-on. And so then I have some butcher paper. Actually, this is parchment paper. I can't find butcher paper as easily as I want to. And so parchment paper actually works, and I can find it much easier. I have heat tape. I have a lint roller, a clear acrylic ruler, and then I just have my scissors and my weeding tool. And then I also have my Easy Press 2. And we're going to be using the Cricut Maker to cut these out today, but you can use any of the 3 machines. It doesn't have to be a Maker. You can use any of those 3. And you can use your Easy Press 2, or if you have heat press, you could use that too. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this out of the way and get started on our first project. So we're going to start by cutting out all of our materials and getting them ready for the mat. So we are going to start with the glitter iron-on, and I didn't show you this before because you can do this with a pair of scissors, but this is my paper trimmer. I use it to cut out all of my materials, whether it's infusible ink or iron-on or vinyl or paper, and I do it because it saves me material. It has this great little ruler on the side, so I can measure precisely how much material I need and leave most of it on the roll. And I think it's like $12 or something like that. It's not very much, but it is the greatest, handiest tool. Okay, so for the very first cut, we're using white glitter, and I need roughly 4 inches by 7. Okay, so we just bring it out to the 4 mark, and actually I'm going to do 4 1/4, just to make sure. And then you can pull it down, and you see the 7 here. So then we can just insert it and cut. And so now I know that this is the exact right size. Now because I want to leave it on the roll, I'm actually going to take a pair of scissors and just cut it away. Otherwise I could have cut it the entire way across and then, you know, trimmed out the 7. But this way I can keep most of this material on the roll. Okay, so this will be our first element. So now let's go ahead and cut out both of the sheets for the infusible ink. Okay, so infusible ink is stored in these black wrappers, and the reason for that is that you want to keep your ink out of the sunlight because it will fade. And so once you take out your infusible ink and you cut it, make sure that you put it back inside of the black and put it back in your box for storage. Okay, so we need roughly 12 inches. Oh, and here's the other thing. It comes in sheets, so sheets of 12 by 12. And then it comes with, when you buy the sheets like this, it comes with some butcher paper already inside. Okay, so what we want to do though is we need both sheets, but what we're going to do is we are going to trim off roughly 1.5 inches from one of them. And then from the other, I only need about 8 inches. So we want to be able to salvage that and save it. So looking back at our design, we actually need a full sheet of the orange, and I wanted to show you guys this really quick. So you see how muted this is? You're probably like, oh my goodness, that's not really even orange. The heat brings out the color. Just like this, right now it looks kind of grayish, but the heat brings out the color. So don't let infusible ink scare you when you take it out of the box. So when you buy your boxes, these are the colors. These are more indicative of what the colors are going to look like once the heat is applied. Okay, so we're going to start with our glitter. And one thing I want to tell you about putting things on the mat, so glitter, iron on is going to go iron on side down, right? So you're going to be doing it face down. Infusible ink, it's face up, so the ink is facing you, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and take our first piece and put it on the mat. Now you can take your scraping tool and secure it to the mat, or you can do it with your hands. It just depends on how sticky your mat is, okay? I think that's good, so we can go to the machine. Okay, so I've double checked Design Space and I have it set to glitter. So we're just gonna load it under each of the feeds. We have it in our fine point blade, and then we just hit cut. Okay, so just a quick tip about putting infusible ink on the mat. It can be a little bit more difficult in my opinion. Now remember, ink side up. So just kind of take it, and you don't want to bend it necessarily, but you want a little taco action going on here. So you want to make sure that you get it at a corner, lining up both, you know, so for 1 inch or so at the corner. And once you have that corner down, then you can sort of work it across with your fingers. And you can use your scraping tool for this, or you can use your hands. And again, it really depends on how sticky your mat is. You can even use a brayer if you want to. But if your mat is good and sticky, then it just adheres really well. Okay, so now we're going to load our infusible ink sheets. So just underneath the feeds, load. And again, we're still using the same blade, the fine point blade. Now remember, when you're taking things off of the mat can take the bend. Don't bend your material, bend the mat. So just flip it over and start bending the mat and letting your material stay flat. That mat will bend or bounce right back. Now that we have all of our materials cut out, the next thing that we need to do is weed each one of them. So we can just use our weeding tools, and for iron-on, it's a pretty simple process. We're just using the weeding tool, we flip it over, and we take away all of that excess. And just go slow. Make sure you don't pull up any of the design that you want to keep. Now, when it comes to infusible ink, it's a little bit different. So what we need to do is you kind of crack and pop your infusible ink, and it will release and come off easily. Now I would say take your scissors and cut out any area that you want to salvage or save before you weed. And that's a fairly large piece right there that I could save for another project. So I'll put that to the side, maybe even right here. Save that as well. And so once you've gotten off the pieces that you want, just crack and pop, and then you can use your tool and just take away any of the excess. Actually, it might be easier if you just kind of pop up that side, and then you just peel that away. So now that we have everything weeded, we have two different processes. We have glitter iron-on and we have infusible ink. So we're going to start with the glitter iron-on. It's a little bit simpler, and so what we're going to do is do that one really quick, and then I'll show you, we'll switch over to infusible ink and I'll show you how to do infusible ink. But for both of them, we're going to be using the Easy Press 2. So for the glitter iron-on, I am putting a link down below to the heat guide so that you can look and see what your material is made of and then what type of iron-on you're using, so you know the heat to use on that. So for glitter iron-on and this poly blend, it's going to be 330 degrees. So let's move these out of the way and I'll show you how to apply these to the bags, and then we'll move on to the t-shirt, the tote, and the pillow. Okay, so we have two different designs, and I want to place these on these little bags, which I am just so excited about. I think my nieces are going to love that. And so we are going to put the, I love this little striped one, he's so cute. We're going to put these in the center, so you just make sure that you measure everything and make sure that you have your design center point. So these are roughly 5 inches across, so 2.5. So we just want to move our spider over slightly. And the really cool thing about iron-on like this is the backer is sticky, so once you get it where it should be, it kind of sticks and holds in place, which is amazing. So then we just make sure that we are roughly, it's not quite 5 inches, so I'm going to be a tiny bit off of the 2.5. And so we'll do both of those, and then I'm going to use my Easy Press to heat these, and I'm using a really large Easy Press today. And the only reason I'm using something so big is because I want to do the other projects, which are also very large, or which are very large, and so I don't want to have to heat up two things. So the 2.5 is about right between the H and the L. This bag is slightly larger, so I think that's going to be perfect. And so now I have my Easy Press at 330. Go ahead, press. Okay, so I've allowed these to cool. And the Easy Press heat guide is going to tell you that as well, like when to peel hot and when to peel cool. So you just peel from one edge and slowly come across. And if for some reason something does, you know, pull away, then just reheat it. Just do it a second time. Nice. Oh, she's going to love this, and I'm gonna fill it full of all kinds of little goodies. And we will pull. I have some cute little suckers and candies, and it's gonna be tons of fun. Here we go. 1 down, 3 to go. Okay, so this is our second project and our first infusible ink project. So we are going to be using this infusible ink pillow sham from Cricut. Now you can use other brands. You don't have to use Cricut brand, but I do warn you that you need to make sure that it has at least 40% polyester. And these are really great quality pillow shams. I'm really excited about this. So whenever you get it out of the packaging though, and a lot of times it'll come in plastic, I would use my Easy Press and, you know, get out all the wrinkles. Just kind of use it like an iron real quick. Maybe even flip it over and do the other side. And these have an invisible zipper in them, which is really, really nice. Okay. And so then we want to take our ruler and we want to find our center point. Well, actually first what we want to do, two things. These are really, really important. Okay, so I'm going to put my design, I think, this direction. Maybe even unzip it and make sure, I think there's a little piece of, yep, there's just like a little piece of thing inside. I'm going to take my lint roller and I'm going to roll all of the lint, anything that might have possibly been picked up. The reason that you want to do this, the reason it's so critical is if you don't do this, then you put down the infusible ink, it can adhere to the lint, and then whenever you pull the lint away, or it falls away, or it washes away, you're left with specks in your ink. So just make sure you do a really good job. Okay, and so then after that, what you want to do is we want to go ahead and place some parchment paper or some butcher block paper inside of the pillow. I would say 2 to 3 pieces. And the reason we want to do that is we want to make sure that we don't have any bleed going to the back side of the pillow. I'll be honest with you guys, this is just me, but I sometimes will put 2 different holidays on either side, or like fall on one side and Halloween on the other, just so that I can get, you know, double use, right, out of these. Okay. So we have our butcher paper on the inside. Okay, so now we want to take our design, and remember we cut it mirror image. So we're going to turn it over and place it face down. And you want to take your clear acrylic ruler or some kind of a ruler and just find your center point. So these little pillowcases are roughly 18 by 18, but you know how that is, you put a pillow inside, and so it's really more like 12 inches or so before you get to that curve. So I'm going to say, you know, 18, so my center point will be 9. It's just shy of that, and I just want to make sure that I get my design in the center, and we want to make sure that we've centered top and bottom. So just make sure you do a really good job measuring that design. And then, okay, so now I have measured everything, and I have the same distance on top and bottom and on both sides. The next thing I want to do after I've sort of, you know, flattened that down with my hands, and again, it's sticky, I'm just going to put a few pieces of heat tape along my design just to make sure that nothing is going to shift. Okay, and so depending on the type of design, on how intricate it is, and if you know, weeded between small things, you may want to put a lot of tape in places, but this one I feel like is pretty secure. So now we're going to take our, this is parchment paper. Butcher paper is best, but I have had a really hard time finding it lately. And so I'm going to be using 2 pieces of parchment on top of my design, and then we are going to apply heat. And so we're going to do it for 60 seconds. Now, one thing I want you guys to remember is when you are doing infusible ink, sublimation, those types of things, you want to be in a well-ventilated area. So crack a window, run your ceiling fan, because the process of heating that ink is going to let off some chemical fumes. Okay, so when you're done, you're going to lift straight up and set it aside, and you're going to give it time to cool. Okay, so while this one's cooling, I'm just going to shift it off to the side, move it to the side, and we are going to put it on our next project. So this is going to be our trick-or-treat tote. So this is also Cricut brand, and I am just going to use this like an iron and get out a few of those wrinkles. And we're going to do the same process as before. We're going to put some paper on the interior of the bag to protect the back of the design, and then we are going to use the lint roller, and then we're going to place our design with our ruler. Let's just go ahead and lint roll. And you know what I like about doing this many projects at one time is you kind of, you know, or bulk, you know, weeding, you're bulk cutting and all that kind of thing. And so you're able to do lots of fun stuff all at once. So then we'll take our ruler. Okay. And so this is kind of warm. So tip, whenever you do that ironing piece, like let it cool off a little bit before you put your infusible ink near it to like line it up. If you don't, you could get a little smearing or smudging, so some of that ink wanting to come off. It's not enough heat to like impress the entire design, but if you're not careful, you could get some transfer. Okay, so we're gonna give this just a second to cool, and then we'll go ahead and put on our design and tape it down. Okay, so our tote is cool to the touch. We're going to go ahead and insert our paper on the inside. Just move our ruler real quick. We'll get our paper in. And this will protect not only our mat, but the back side of our tote. It's the little things with crafting sometimes, guys, that makes things perfect or look professional. Okay, so we're going to put that on the inside. Okay, and so now we have that nice flat surface. So then we have two different colors. And so what we can do, because this, if you remember, this way, and then we have the trick or treat. We could cut them apart and press them all at one time, which candidly is my recommendation to you. Or you could press them separately. But when you press separately, you have to be so careful not to get ghosting, not to get any, transfer of ink or anything. And so what I would prefer to do is we'll put down the trick or treat, and then we will place on the bats and the spider webs to go with that. Okay, so the lettering to me is much more difficult to place by hand, just because you can get things off or get them crooked and that kind of thing, and that obviously is not any fun when you do all the work and then you end up with something that's not quite as perfect as you would like for it to be. So this is roughly 4.5 inches, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 inches. So we have about 4.5 inches on each side of our tote. And then remember, we'll have some bats up here at the top, and then we'll have our oar with our spider there in the center. So it's going to kind of make it a little bit taller and a little bit, a little bit taller on the top and the bottom. Okay, so that is down. Now the catch to this is now that we have those in place, you can take a pair of scissors and you can cut away this interior piece so that you don't have any overlap. So you have to put a little bit more effort into it, but I think it's worth only pressing it once. Okay, so we're just going to get our scissors in there and we're just going to trim away, making sure that we have, our trick and treat is not shifting. I'm just going to trim away some of that backer. So with a little trimming, I was able to put both pieces in place. I just trimmed out a lot of the liner, and now they fit. So now I'm just going to take some heat tape, make sure that they do not move. Put this down in some spots like the spider. I want to make sure that spider doesn't pop up. The next thing that we want to do is we want to put down our parchment paper. So we want to cover the entire design. And the best thing to do would be to cover the entire design with your Easy Press. If you cannot, again, just be careful when you press it second time. Okay, I think we can get the entire design all at once. Okay, and so while this one cools, we're going to bring back on our first craft and let's do the big reveal. So we'll let that one cool and we'll bring back on our pillowcase. Okay, so we can take off, oh wow, you can see that black shining through, right? So let's just carefully remove. Oh my goodness, guys, look how fun that is. That is so darling. I'm so excited, and the black is so vibrant. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to do our t-shirt. So I am actually going to, we're going trick-or-treating at this really cool campsite place. They have like 200 campsites and tons of trick-or-treating, and it's for all ages. It's like a really cool thing here locally. And so I am going to wear this t-shirt when we trick-or-treat, and I'm gonna carry the little trick-or-treat bag. It's gonna be so much fun. Now, candidly, I will be collecting candy for the kid that I will be escorting around, or kids, I should say plural, but a few pieces for me would not be a terrible thing either, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and use our Easy Press. Get our t-shirt. So if you guys have any fun things like that locally around your house, leave me something down in the comments. I would love to know if other places do this. It's like trick-or-treating for the family, and it's just so neat because all these people who have these campsites and they have these amazing campers and things, and they set up insane decorations, like full like yards in front of their little campsites of decorations with tons of lights. It is truly amazing. It costs about $15 for a car load, I think it is, to get in. But it is well worth it. Okay, and so we'll just get this good and ironed. And then we will take our parchment paper. We're gonna stick it on the inside of our t-shirt. Again, protecting any bleed through. So we'll put that inside. And guys, I know it's tempting, but I would not reuse my parchment paper or butcher paper unless I was absolutely 100% sure that it did not have any ink on it whatsoever. Because even the smallest amount of ink, when you reheat that, can end up, you know, causing some bleeding onto your shirt, and that would just make you so sad, right? So I know it's tempting, but do not do it. Okay, so then we use our ruler, and 16 inches or so. This is a V-neck, which makes it a little bit easier, but about 8 inches. And so we have a couple of different elements. Oh, whoa, whoa, almost forgot. Now that is terrible. Do not let me forget it, especially when I'm teaching you guys. We're going to take our lint roller and roll the shirt. Such an important step. Please do not forget. Please do not forget. Okay, so we'll put that to the side. And now, get it straight once again. Probably start with our mouth so we make sure we get it exactly where we want it. Okay. Here we go. And then I'm just gonna lightly put those down. And you can always, again, trim around these so that you make sure that, you know, you don't have any overlapping. You wanna make sure that you don't have ink going onto the back of another element. And so then we'll just take our ruler and make sure that it's perfect. Okay, so laugh at me if you want, but I actually did the face a little catty-cornered. It just felt very weird, like putting the little triangles, you know. Anyway, so I kind of made it lopsided. And so it is roughly 4 inches on either side. So I think it's fairly well centered. And then I'm gonna be able to cover the entire thing with one press. And so now we just want to use our heat tape and make sure that nothing is gonna shift, no ghosting. Okay, we'll heat this and then we will take a look at our trick-or-treat bag. Okay, cover it with a little bit of protective paper. We'll go both directions. And then we can place down our Easy Press. And try your best, guys, not to let it shift, do not iron, like try not to let it shift. That's where you can get in some of the ghosting. Okay, then lift straight up, set it back on the cradle. And so I can see here that the Easy Press covered the entire design, which is exactly what I want. Okay, so we're gonna move this out of the way and allow it to cool, and we'll go ahead and look at our treat bag. Okay, so the reveal of these projects are my absolute favorite. So we take off our, oh yes, so you can see the ink coming around. And so just gently pull away the liner from one corner. Oh my goodness, doesn't that look great? Oh goodness. Okay, so this is a lesson learned, guys. So two things I did wrong. I got too close to the handle, which made my little bat here blur, which makes me sad, but it's still super cute. And the other lesson learned is whenever you're trimming out, you see here, there's a little notch in the oar, and that is because my liner, like it doubled up on the liner. So sometimes we have to learn lessons when we're crafting, and so this is one for me. I should have shifted down and not gotten so close to this, because I think when the Easy Press sat on top of that, even though the heat was on the bat, it didn't get as much pressure, right? So it didn't get as much heat on that particular bat. But all in all, I think it's super, super cute. Okay, time to reveal our last item. So this is our t-shirt, so we can take off our paper. And then we just peel away each one. Oh, so great. And look at that. All of the ink came off, all of it. No ink left behind. That turned out perfect. Now if the mouth was perfect. Perfection, and I actually like that it's catty-cornered. I like that it's kind of offset. That is really fun, and I'm gonna wear it with a little jacket. This is gonna be so cute. Okay, so what did you guys think? Did you like all of those? Those were a lot of fun. I cannot wait to wear the t-shirt. I am absolutely gonna collect a lot of candy, or I might let one of the kids carry the bag to collect candy. I cannot wait to give my nieces the little treat bags. They're going to love these. These are going to be so sweet. And then I also want to put my little pillowcase cover on my pillow in my studio. And I'm actually thinking about putting a Christmas design on the back of it so I can just flip it around whenever it's time. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed crafting with me today, and I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and see me next time.